A bitter power struggle has erupted inside Europe over who should speak to Vladimir Putin if Ukraine peace talks ever begin. At the center of the storm is European Council President Antonio Costa, whose office quietly opened diplomatic contacts with Moscow, triggering backlash from some of the EU's most powerful leaders. French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz reportedly pushed back hard behind closed doors, arguing now is not the time for talks with Putin. Their position? Russia has shown no serious interest in peace, and when negotiations eventually happen, Europe's leading powers should take the lead. But that vision is facing resistance. Belgian Prime Minister Bart de Wever publicly rejected the idea that France, Germany, and the UK, the so-called E3, can negotiate on behalf of the entire European Union. He insisted only EU institutions have the authority to formally represent the bloc.
The first question is whether Putin wants to negotiate. That is not certain. There are many reasons to doubt that. Until then, the European Union has its own institutions. They represent the Union. No one else can represent the Union. That is President Costa. He represents the Union. Of course, there are also other initiatives like the E3 and G7, where things are also discussed. Not everything is EU competence when it comes to security guarantees. That is not EU competence. In that case, it is the governments that must decide. So if negotiations are possible, until then, it is the European Union. The representative is the President of the Council, Antonio Costa.
De Wever acknowledged the E3 could play a role on security guarantees for Ukraine, but warned there is certainly no consensus for any separate group to speak for Europe in Moscow. He also stressed that the bigger question remains whether Putin is actually willing to negotiate at all. The clash exposes a deeper battle inside Europe. Should diplomacy be led by Brussels, by major powers like France and Germany, or by a broader coalition that includes countries such as Poland and Italy? As Ukraine's war drags on, Europe appears increasingly divided over who will carry its voice to the negotiating table.